This is Bob from RTM Computer Solutions, and I'm here today to give you an overview of our SPMobile software. It's an add-on option to ServicePoint that allows technicians in the field to access their work orders remotely. The SPMobile system allows for remote access by technicians. It allows technicians and or delivery drivers to access the work order information that's entered into the office, into the ServicePoint system. It allows the techs to enter the time that they worked, the parts used during the repair, enter notes into the system. It allows them to capture a customer signature and also send a receipt while they're out in the field. It complements the ServicePoint software in allowing the techs to be mobile and still have access to their information. It runs on any device that can run a browser. It's device independent since it is browser based. It runs on Apple iOS systems. It runs on Android, so it can run on a cell phone or an Android tablet. It, of course, runs on Windows in a browser. It can even run on a Linux, Unix system. It is device independent. Just as a quick overview, I want to review some of the scheduling information in ServicePoint. This is our schedule screen, and I do have some demo data in here. The dates are in the past. And what I've done is I've entered a number of service calls for our technicians. We have a monthly view in the ServicePoint. This is a desktop ServicePoint system, by the way. We have a monthly view. We have a weekly view that shows what's scheduled for our techs for the week. Right now, they only have service calls on Wednesday. The daily view shows what's scheduled by technician for the day. So in this case, you can see that this technician Anders has 3 service calls and Wilson and Zach have 1 each. There is color coding available that allows us to show the status of each work order and let the dispatcher know at a glance what status the work order is in just by looking at the color. The Gantt chart view shows the hours scheduled for the day by technician, and as I mouse over, I can see the various service calls that are scheduled by tech. And there's also a work order tab that allows detailed access to the work order information, shows the reason for the service call, allows access to notes. So we can see any notes that were put in by the dispatcher, and I can print a work order form from here as well. When I assign a work order to a technician, we can have the ServicePoint desktop system automatically send them an email that indicates that they've been assigned to this work order. That's a configuration option within ServicePoint. Once these work orders are entered into the ServicePoint desktop system, they do show up in SPMobile. So if I bring up a browser, this is my Chrome browser on my desktop here, and I have been logged out of the ServicePoint web portal. It does have a timeout option you can set. If I hit the login button, I enter my technician ID. I haven't set a password for this guy since it's my demo system, but it is password protected. It does look at the ServicePoint technician setup. It recognizes the tech. It validates the login. And when I first log in, it gives me by default today as a scheduled date range. So the technician by default sees today's calls. But since my demo data is in the past, I'm going to blank out the beginning date. I'm going to refresh my screen. And these are the 3 service calls that are showing up in the ServicePoint desktop app back in the office. The tech gets to see them in the field on their phone or on their tablet or their laptop while they're working remotely. If I choose one of these service calls, you can see they're in order of when they're scheduled for the day. These are all in 52604. If I pick that first work order, here are some of the options I have on my device. If I'm sitting here on my cell phone and I'm looking at my work order, I do have a couple of options in this work order summary screen here that shows me the detail on the work order. Customer that the service call is for shows me contact information. I have an option to call, so if I'm on my mobile device and it does have a dialer on it, if I hit this call button, it will pass the number to the dialer. In this case, it's trying to open up Skype because it is running on my desktop. And I can also map directions from here. When the technician brings up this work order when they're out in the field, they can call the client, they can get information if they need any, they can let the client know that they're on their way. When they're ready to dispatch to the site, they can click this button here, and what it does on my laptop, it's going to open up another tab. It's going to pass it over to Google Maps, at which time I can get directions to the site, and then I can navigate to the site. If I do it on a mobile device, I have the option of having that button open up this address in the Maps application, which by default will automatically allow the technician to navigate to the site using turn-by-turn directions. And when they arrive, they can enter their labor time, They can enter parts used during this repair or delivery. They can enter notes, and they can go to this summary screen where they can present the customer with a summarization of the service call. They can capture a customer signature there, and they can send the customer a receipt while they're out in the field. After the technician arrives at the site, generally they would click on this labor tab. It does show that I'm scheduled to be there on 5/26/04. They can clock in. If I hit the clock in button, it puts in the current date and time. It saves that work order, and it changed it back in the office to be a dispatched work order. As soon as the technician hits that clock in button, back in the office on the ServicePoint app, if I look at my daily view for the service call, you can see that it's changed colors. So in this case, my green color are my scheduled service calls, and my blue color are my in-process service calls. So as soon as that technician clicked that button, the dispatcher back in the office can see that work has commenced on the service call. The technician would normally then log out of the system. They'd perform their work. When they complete the work, they would come back into the service call. They can enter any parts used. These are the parts that were already put on the service call back in the office, so I'll have a list of these if they were already in there. I can add a part from my inventory system. So in this case, I'm showing everything that's in inventory for this technician that's available to them either in their truck or in the store stock. I am going to pick my miscellaneous item, and I'm going to add a new item, and I'm going to overwrite this description in this case because it is a non-stock type of item, and I'm just going to write clamps, etc. Some miscellaneous parts. I am going to put in a price of $25 because I do allow my tech to price this while he's out in the field. I hit my save button, and it now added $25 more to that service call. I can go in, I can clock out of my labor. It'll keep track of my labor time. It's a very small amount of time, so I'm going to update that. I'm going to make it an hour and a quarter. The tech can put in a note here against each labor item if they wish. Generally, we see technicians putting work order wide notes in on this screen. This screen does show the notes that were entered in the office, so when the technician gets on site, they can refer to this and look at the work order note from the dispatcher in the office. In this case, the spa heater is not working, replace heater if found faulty, and also perform regular PM while on site. After the tech finishes their work, they can add another note. That can become either an internal note for use in the office or an invoice note. They can print on the invoice for the customer. So I'm going to say performed repair. Checked operation. All is okay. And when I save that note, that becomes an additional note on this service call. It'll print on the invoice in this case. There is one feature of mobile devices that's very useful when it comes to entering notes, and that's the ability to enter speech to text. Most cell phones and tablets have a microphone on the keyboard, and if you click on the microphone, it will actually listen to what the technician says, and as they speak, it will type. The technicians really love this. They don't have to type out in the field. They can enter notes very, very easily. The final screen that's available in the mobile app is a summary tab. And if I click on the summary tab, you'll see it will price all the items that are on the call. So in this case, it priced the labor. It shows me my additional charges, which were assigned back in the office. It shows me the total of the parts that are attached to this service call, and it gives me a total charge. It does calculate tax based on the rules in the accounting software and how that's set up. So my total on this service call is $1,002.80. At this time, I have a couple more options in the summary screen. I can capture a customer signature, and if I choose to do so, I click on this button, a secondary window opens, and if I have a cell phone or a tablet, customer can sign the touch screen. We capture the customer name, we accept the signature, and that becomes stored as a graphic in that work order along with a date and time stamp that the signature was captured, and you have that available back in the office as well. Once the customer signs, we can email a ticket if we'd like. It will go out to the customer file in the accounting software. It'll harvest the email address from there, and it'll bring it into the screen if there is one. In this case, we don't have one, so I'm going to put in my email address. And when you click send email, it does send an HTML formatted email to the customer. It's very configurable by the user. If I go back to my work order list, I can see now that this work order is in a completed status, and I would just go on my way and I'd start my next work order. And back in the office, here's what this did while out in the field. This is now a completed work order. The tech clocked in, they clocked out, they put on parts used, they put on notes. If I go over here to this work order, the status is completed. And if I edit this work order, you will see that not only did it log my labor time, there's my hour and a quarter that I put on in technician time. It logged the additional part that I entered. My work order summary matches. And it did also add the note that the technician put on. This indicates that there is a customer signature available that we captured. And if I print a sample document as if we were going to invoice this work order, you can see that all those items appear on the invoice as well. There's the note, the additional part, the labor time that was entered. The mobile app gives the technician the ability to do their own data entry while they're out in the field easily. That is a quick overview of the mobile application. If you have any more questions, please contact us. We would be happy to do a demo of the system for you or answer any questions that you might have. Our contact information is shown on the screen. Please give us a call toll free at 866-879-3867. Send us an email at info@rtmcs.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.